Hey everyone, it's Jonathan and welcome to Season 7 of Every Version Ever. Normally I would just welcome you to the first episode of the next season at the beginning of the first episode, but I have a little bit more than usual to go over. Before we get into the series proper, I wanted to let you know what I've decided to kick off the season with and what you can expect over the coming months. But first, the somewhat bad news. I've decided that for the time being, we are doing an approximately every other week release schedule. This shouldn't be permanent, hopefully, but it's what I'm able to do for the time being. Aside from my full-time job, which has been especially busy the last couple of weeks, I'm also running 3 podcasts and hoping to launch a 4th soon-ish. And as much as I'd love to do a weekly release for all 4 shows, that's basically impossible. So my hope is, at least for this podcast, to start with an every other week release schedule, and then if I can build up enough ahead, move to like a 2-on, 1-off schedule, and maybe at some point end up on a mostly weekly schedule, but I'm not going to promise that for now. I will just say I'm working towards that. I think for at least my first series back, it will just be every other week. Which brings me to the topic of my first series back. I'm sure I've already given it away in the title and or thumbnail, but the first series back is going to be Jurassic Park. Not just the movies, but the books as well. And I should specify, when I say Jurassic Park, I mean Jurassic Park. At the moment, we have no plans to go into Jurassic World. I'm doing this whole series with my friend Sam, who is pretty much a purist when it comes to most franchises. Like, I kind of had to convince her to do an episode on Jurassic Park 3 to close out the series, but we're recording episodes on all 3 Jurassic Park movies, and both of the original 2 Michael Crichton novels. I've really wanted to do more book-to-movie comparison episodes, and hopefully this will be the first of many ventures in that direction. Obviously, doing something in the sci-fi/horror realm is going to be a bit of a departure from what has become my normal, mostly family-friendly content, and don't worry, we will be back to that soon. But I've wanted to do more science fiction for a while, as well as more books that the movies I cover are based on. And I had already been thinking about doing the Jurassic Park franchise for my new podcast that I'll be starting later this year, so this seemed like the perfect time to do this. I have touched on sci-fi and horror before. I did The War of the Worlds in my first season, as well as Little Shop of Horrors in season 2, plus the odd sci-fi and or horror reimagining of random other stories here and there. But somehow, and not necessarily on purpose, I've kind of fallen into a rut of only covering kids and family stories. And even though I still obviously love that kind of content and I will never stop doing them, that was never meant to be all I cover on Every Version Ever. So Jurassic Park is the first of hopefully many ventures back into the realm of sci-fi. I've also wanted to go back to The War of the Worlds for years, as well as get into some of H.G. Wells' other works, not to mention everything by Jules Verne. And while I don't have anything currently in the works for those, they will be coming. If not this year, then definitely next. Hopefully. Hopefully, definitely. Following Jurassic Park, as promised last year, I do have more fairy tales in the works, and when we get back to them, at least for the first batch of episodes, there will be no princesses. I've wanted to do a mini-series for both Little Red Riding Hood and Hansel and Gretel for a while. I know there are a bunch of really interesting and unique takes on those 2 stories out there, and I've thought for a long time they would both be the perfect focus for a series on this podcast. And then for good measure, I'm throwing in Goldilocks and the 3 Bears as well. The theme will loosely be kids lost in the woods. Like the Princess series last year, we'll probably just kind of go back and forth between the 3 stories. And I think I've decided that going forward, these fairy tale episodes, or the Every Fairy Tale Ever series that I sort of loosely started last year, are going to be my bridging series between the other mini-series I'm working on. I have several mini-series in the works, hopefully for later this year, and if I know the gap between them is going to be somewhat significant, I think I will fill it in with fairy tales. I do have a few left over from last year's princess stories, and I'm actively recording more episodes for my main channel's Wonderland Wednesday series, so in between series that are focused very significantly on one story or one topic, I think we'll just have a few fairy tales, whether that's Alice in Wonderland or just a random medley of other random fairy tales. I think I will introduce new fairy tales into the mix with their own series, like I'm doing with the Kids Lost in the Woods series, but after that the featured stories will be fair game to be mixed into the general ongoing fairy tale series that will fill in the gaps when I'm working on a new series. After that, I know it's only March, but I'm already thinking ahead to Christmas in July. I want to do versions of the Nutcracker again. I already have 2 episodes finished, and I plan to do at least 3 more. So if you have suggestions, let me know. The 2 we already recorded came from a listener suggestion, so I'm definitely open to more. And then, while all that is going on, I have other mini-series that I'm working on as well. I just need to find time to actually do them. They will most likely involve more reading than I'm used to, which takes a lot longer than just watching movies. Aside from Jurassic Park, the series I've had in production off and on the longest. Last year I did a miniseries for the Disney Movie Marathon on Mary Poppins, which everyone knows has 2 films from Disney, except there's actually a lot more than you would think. We actually did 4 episodes for the Disney Movie Marathon, and I want to do more. I want to cover the books, and I want to do episodes on all the foreign versions. We did one overview episode discussing most of them in general, but I still want to do a deeper dive into each individual film. I did briefly think about releasing the miniseries I have now as is, but I decided I'd rather wait until I have a more complete series that I can share, and I'm hoping to do that later this year. If you can't wait, all 4 episodes that I've already done are available now on the Disney Movie Marathon. They were released last year, but they will also be releasing soon on the iHeart Animation podcast. So you can definitely listen ahead if you want, but I want to wait to release them here until I have more of the episodes finished. Aside from that, Mark Brown and I have also been talking for literally years about doing episodes on 2 pig-based stories, E.B. White's Charlotte's Web and George Orwell's Animal Farm. And now that both of those have brand new adaptations either recently released or coming soon, I feel like this has to be the year we finally do them. I haven't decided yet if I want to do the books as their own podcast episodes for these, but I definitely plan to at least reread them before we start recording them. But those are still quite a ways off, and I have no idea what order most of that will happen in. Right now, my best guess is the Jurassic Park episodes for the next approximately 2 months, released every other week, unless something comes up to cause a delay, and then Kids Lost in the Woods after that, and then after that we'll do Christmas in July. Late summer and into fall is anyone's guess, but it will probably be something we've already discussed here, unless something else comes together unexpectedly quick. Which is not unheard of. Some things I plan for and record over months, and other things come together and are finished so quickly I barely have time to register them. That's what happened a couple of years ago with that Lady and the Tramp series I did. If I remember right, we might have recorded all 3 of those episodes in one day. But that is rare, and I don't expect something like that to happen anytime soon, but you never know. Anyway, I think that's all for now. We will see you very soon for Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park on Every Version Ever.